All right, what's going on, people? We are back once again. Conscious Approach Podcast, episode number 11. JV Wiz here. I'm Dave De Niro G. We're going to get back into it. So we thought we'd touch on this Michael Vick situation because it's kind of funny. And it just kind of speaks to some of the weird ways that sports is viewed differently in society compared to other walks of life. So just to give a brief background, Michael Vick was selected to be a part of the Pro Bowl proceedings for the 2020 Pro Bowl. And if you know anything about the history of Michael Vick, he was arrested on felony charges for dogfighting back in 2007. He spent, 2 years in prison, right?
21 months.
Yeah, 21 months. And he paid his debt to society, got out, and since then he's kind of turned his life around in that regard. He's been somebody who's actually advocating for animal rights, but for some people they just can't get over it. The act in and of itself seems to be too much for him. But people feel so strongly about Michael Vick and the fact that he's involved in the Pro Bowl, they don't want him a part of the Pro Bowl proceedings. So this, according to the Washington Post, just briefly, but for many fans, the Pro Bowl evidently is a step too far. As of Thursday afternoon, more than 500,000 people had signed a Change.org petition demanding that Vick be removed as an honorary captain of the Pro Bowl in late January. Another petition with more than 300,000 signatures demands the same thing, and yet another, which has more than 100,000 signatures, urges sponsors to back out of the Pro Bowl until it drops Vick. so you got basically 1 million signatures of people who feel like he shouldn't be nowhere near the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
What do you say about that?
To be honest, it's just, I think it's it's a couple ways you can attack it, you know what I mean? But just from the standpoint of just basic, this man did something that happened 10 years ago, you know what I mean? He's paid his debts, he done did everything he possibly can do to try to progress, and it's unfortunate that people want to try to bring up something from 10 years ago, and I don't support what he did. Obviously, that was something very gruesome when you read the details. I get it. But, you know what I mean? But to still, hold that over this man's head and ask to be so harsh on somebody, I think it's just a sad reality of just, some things that we can't get over because, you're trying to hold this man. You want, instead of focusing on how much he's progressed, here we are trying to tell him, oh, he don't need to be in the Pro Bowl, drop out, back out, and it's like, what can he do? Yeah. What else can he do?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just a sad situation, but it's multiple layers to it. But I think
it is.
But it's very interesting to say the least that you got so many people who feel so strongly that he shouldn't be the Pro Bowl is not he's getting the Nobel Peace Prize. It's just a Pro Bowl. So it's weird. It's weird.
You know the Jalen and Jacoby show on ESPN. Mm-hmm. So they do this segment on that show called Cultural or Regional, where they basically it's their way of saying they observe something going on in the society and they say, is this cultural or regional? Meaning, is this based on the place that you come from, or is this based on the culture that you hail from? Mm-hmm. Basically, what it boils down to is this something that's typical of all people and it just depends on where you come from, or is this something that specifically white or black people do?
Gotcha.
That's basically what it is. And I just find I find situations like this kind of funny because I'm pretty sure that if you could do a diaspora of the people who are outraged over the Michael Vick situation, most of these people are going to be white people.
Yeah.
And I just find that funny because there is a stark difference in the way that culturally people view things like dogfighting. Now, I don't necessarily condone dogfighting, but I don't find it to be this abhorrent sin that should prevent you from earning a livelihood for the rest of your life, especially if you paid your debt to society. But for other people, they really humanize dogs, and there's a humanization aspect of it to where they feel as though a crime such as this is so beyond the pale that you don't deserve in any way, shape, or form to be a part of a proceeding as, if you want to call it prestigious as the NFL or any of its holdings, the Pro Bowl being among them. And I don't, and it comes down to a matter of most people's argument is being a part of the NFL is a privilege, right? That's what you'll hear people say. That's like some of the talking points. So like, you forfeited your ability to be in this privileged position because you've done something so heinous and abhorrent. But I don't agree with that because, in my opinion, being a part of the NFL is not a privilege. It's not a privilege. It's a right. I don't think that's something that you have to work to earn through mastery of your craft and hard work to get to the point in which you're a professional.
That's a privilege.
I inherently don't believe that that's a privilege. That's a right that you earn through hard work. And so one transgression here or there, as heinous as you might find it to be, in my opinion, isn't enough for all of us to sit around and engage in righteous indignation, trying to suggest that he no longer has the right or the privilege to be a part of the NFL Pro Bowl. And like you said, bro, he's not being given the Purple Heart. He's just an honorary captain at the Pro Bowl. It's not that serious. But people really view sports in that way, especially when you get into stuff with this dogfighting. They just don't want to have any of it. Like in the last video when we talked about how people look at this sports stuff, it's like there's just zero tolerance on all fronts because they feel like you're really in a privileged situation. And really, you got to get over it. He's not really privileged. He earned the right to be a part of the NFL. And if you really don't like it that much, don't watch the game. Turn it off.
Yeah. And I mean, but the thing is, like I said, there's so many ways to attack it. But like, if you want to be plain simple, like you said, there is a cultural thing when it
there's
comes
a
to
racial
decision,
element
you know
to
what I mean?
Like,
Like, it's a lot of, white people who are saying Vick shouldn't be a part of it. And on the other side, you have a lot of black people saying, hey, Vick needs to move forward. And, I was talking with somebody about this, like, a few days ago, and I was explaining to him that, it's just a sad situation because it's all based off ignorance and on all fronts, you know what I mean? And, like, what Michael Vick was doing at that time, that was a product of his environment. So he didn't know any better. Like, that was something that was normal to him. And then when he got money, he just continued to do something that was normal that he didn't know, he didn't see as wrong. You know what I mean? He did that because that's what he grew up in. That was his environment. And then, it came crashing down. As on the other end, you have a lot of white people who have dogs who treat those dogs, keep them, treat them how they should be treated, how a pet should be treated, however you see that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then it's like, it just gets crazy because then you have some of the people who are, claiming this man should not be part of the Pro Bowl in defense of their dogs. But it's like, come on, you can't give a human being the same kind of respect as far as progressing. And that's where it gets down because it's like, so it's like, what are we really talking about here when in this realm of when it comes to this conversation and the many of the people who are calling for, because, I'm not saying every white person is oblivious to, you know what I mean, like the plights of black
right.
people,
The culture, the differences culturally.
But there is, it's
a factor.
It's a factor in it. So you're calling for this because, dogs, how in their culture, dogs are treated, far from how Vick was treating them. But at the end of the day, you have to forgive Michael Vick because at that point in his life, he was ignorant. And once he felt, he made his mistake, he went down 21 months, he came home, and everything he has done has been a transformation that shows he's no longer ignorant to the fact that what he was doing was wrong.
Correct.
And, but like you said, we have people just, something, because it's like, it's a million people, and it's not the whole world, but like, that's just, it's wild people, but like I said, it's sports at the same time.
Yeah. But
you just have a million people who really, you can't explain it. It's just sad and it's weird.
I think it's interesting. I just think I've always found it fascinating zero tolerance aspect of sports. It's like people really feel, I get the sense that the general public really comes down hard on pro athletes because they feel like you're making millions and millions of dollars to play a game. So if you do even one thing to screw this up, you forfeit your right to be a part of that environment now.
Mm-hmm.
And I just fundamentally disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you commit one mistake in your workplace, you don't want people showing up at your job with pitchforks trying to declare that you no longer have the right to work there,
Yeah.
right? And no other person who gets into any kind of trouble is going to feel that they deserve that kind of, indiscriminate, criticism.
Yeah.
But that's the society that we live in, where people look at professional athletes essentially as privileged, coddled humans who are getting overpaid to play a game.
Well, let me say this. Why does it seem to, like you say, why does it seem when it comes to athletes, why does it seem to always be that narrative as, oh, you're privileged. You're privileged. It's a privilege for you to be in the NBA. It's a privilege for you to be in the NFL. And the reality of it is, I'm just speaking reality. I'm not, just saying reality of it is. The reality of it is both of them huge commodities are basically ran off of 75 to 80% African Americans. And at the top of each sport is the same thing as, a lot of rich owners on both sides of the aspect. But it seems that these athletes have to always say, like you say, it's a privilege. I guess because it's a privilege that you get opportunity for us to pay you.
It's the money thing. It's the fact that they're getting paid millions of dollars, and you got a lot of working class people out here grinding who live paycheck to paycheck, and they look at a professional athlete and there's a resentment towards that.
But don't you think that's most people think like it's a perpetuated thing that we think that's the only way, or black people kind of seem like that's the only thing that kind of.
No,
I mean, not every, like, I'm just saying, like, sports is worldwide. So, like, even if you're, like, I don't know, poor, middle class, whatever, even whatever, for the most part, you'd be able to watch a sports game. You can be in the one-bedroom apartment, no money, but you might have a TV and you'd be able to watch sports. You know what I mean? You'd be able to probably catch a sports game for the most part. That's the one thing that, like, you can see and, that might say, okay, that's somewhat successful, that's the closest thing that you can see to something being successful as far as to your actual reality. You get what I'm saying? Like, because if I don't have no positive, or I don't have anything that I see daily that can maybe shift my mindset to, oh, if I do this, I can be successful. But if I'm watching LeBron all the time, I think, oh, I just go play sports, man. I just got to make it. I can play ball.
I don't think that it's a separate issue than what I think that whether it's a black athlete or a white athlete, I think generally speaking, most people view athletes in that way. And so they believe that the burden of, living they believe that the burden of living a perfect life free of mistakes is even greater for someone who's in that position because you're privileged and you're making millions of dollars. But the reality is, no one feels as though one mistake should prohibit them from being able to earn a livelihood doing what they've worked their entire lives to earn that livelihood in.
Absolutely.
And as it pertains to Michael Vick, I think some of that is what is in play. It's not necessarily the racial component comes in when we talk specifically about the dog fighting part, in my opinion, because like I said before, I think that you got a lot of black people who love dogs too. Like, I got people in my family who have dogs. People love dogs overall. It's not a situation where black people gonna fight dogs and white people love dogs.
No.
It's just a situation where the way that you view something like dog fighting, there is a humanizing aspect of it that is different intraculturally. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
And so when I bring up the racial component of it, I was talking specifically about the dog fighting. Now, it does play a factor in the way people view these situations like Michael Vick. But overall, I do think that, people generally view athletes in such a way, whether it's a white athlete or a black athlete, they say, hey man, you're out here making millions of dollars and you're, flying on private jets. You living a good life. You rich. You got not a care in the world. You're a top 10% or top 1%er. So you get arrested for a DUI, you're out of there. You fight dogs, you're out of there.
But
I'm just saying, like that's how they feel about it.
I get that part, but like when all these incidents happening, it's always seemed to be, like, I don't know, man. You haven't seen, Tom Brady or whatever, but it seems to be more black athletes who's did the seems any other race of athlete.
Well, okay, but let's try to make sure that we're responsible here and not paint a broad brush and not paint a picture with a broad brush. Tom Brady's not fighting dogs.
No,
you know what I'm saying? Like, culturally speaking, we gonna be the ones out there fighting dogs. Maybe it's gonna be some, it's gonna be non-white people out there fighting dogs because, and this is the socioeconomic aspect of it. People fight dogs for what? To gamble, to make money, right?
Yeah.
And if you gambling and you trying to make money, chances are you're trying to do that because you don't have enough of it, right?
Yes.
And so who are the groups of people who don't generally have enough of the money, right? The disenfranchised minority groups in America, right? The non-white people, the black people, the Latino people. So that's what we're talking about when you really want to pierce the veil and try to look at it from that aspect. Why is it that's going to be a lot of times you're going to largely see black people getting caught up in this kind of stuff? That's the reason why. Yeah. It's always going to boil down to economics. Always. I don't care what we're talking about. A lot of these conversations always boil down to economics. Yeah. And economics have a lot to do with the caste system that has been instituted in America ever since the beginning, that has sort of differentiated groups and the amount of opportunities that they have to earn economic prosperity.
Well, then I guess it makes sense of why they're trying to call for this man out to get the Pro Bowl.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, yes. So in us saying all of this, it does make sense. I'm just saying I don't agree with it.
No.
Like, dog fighting to me does not constitute you're out of there.
No.
I don't want to hear it. Like, I'd rather somebody who was found guilty of using steroids their whole career get the boot permanently than somebody who was dogfighting. Yeah. That's just really how I feel about that. Like, I might go, Lord, God forbid, if I get caught up in some crazy situation, I end up in jail the next day. I don't want people showing up at my job saying I no longer deserve the right to work here.
Yeah.
No one deserves that. And Vick as well doesn't deserve it. But you got a lot of people who love these dogs. They humanize them, and they feel like that is such a beyond the pale act to commit. You have forfeited your right to be a part of something that you have worked to earn.
Yes,
it's not like it was given to them.
And then I was reading articles. I'm just like, the Pro Bowl, man. It's not. I haven't watched the Pro Bowl in like 5 years. Like, I don't even watch the Pro Bowl no more. Like, so it's just like, you got a million people who don't have nothing else to do than to call for somebody who's made who's made a diligent
concerted effort to change. Yeah.
He's been, like, you haven't heard nothing. He's been taking care of his family. Like, he's done everything. Like, Michael Vick has been stand up since the day he's got out.
Yes.
And you got a million people here who want to go out their day to try and tear this man down, all behind the damn Pro Bowl.
Yeah. And an honorary captain.
The honorary captain of the Pro Bowl. Like, the NFL needs to sell money, and the Pro Bowl has been suffering. Who's better than to have Michael Vick, somebody who's contributed to the game? And in all fairness, when I was reading an article of Michael Vick, they say he had $17.6 million of debt that he owed when he got out, like when he went in. Mm-hmm. And they said he's paid like 17.2 back. Yeah. And Michael Vick said because he didn't want to make nobody feel like he ever cheated him. Right. So the man has done everything. He paid his debts. He's paid time. He's paid his creditors' debts. He's been, last time I saw him, he looked like he was chilling on Monday Night Football watching Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and I think he'd be on TV commentating on NFL Network.
Undisputed.
Yeah, okay, that's what it is. Yeah, on Fox. Yeah,
they bring him on there. Michael Vick, come on, man.
Just leave him alone.
That's Mike Vick. Come on, bro. That's Michael Vick. It's only, like, I don't understand. It's Michael Vick.
But before we close it out, I got a funny story. Just to kind of this funny. I'm not trying to be serious about it, but I just thought of this funny story, and it has to do with like this dog situation, right? So I dated a girl years ago who had a dog. She loved this. Her and this dog were like this. If she went to go take a piss, the dog was right behind her. If she was, it didn't matter what she did, the dog was there, right?
Gotcha.
So one day we sitting on the couch and I asked her, I said, let me ask you a question. Say I'm strapped to the train tracks and the dog is strapped to the train track. Now, mind you, this wasn't a situation where we was just messing around. This girl was my girl. Like we were in an actual relationship. I was with this girl for a year plus.
Okay.
Like at the point that I asked this question, we had been together at least a year and a half. Right? That's a long time, right? So I said, if I'm strapped to the train tracks, the dog's strapped to the train tracks, and you can only save one, the train coming gonna kill us both.
She said you gotta go.
Who you gonna save? Now, she said she saved me. But it took her so long to answer that question. It took her forever. She sat there and really pondered whether to save me or the dog. I think she wanted to save the dog, but she realized that's kind of messed up that I'm gonna save a dog over a human being. Like, it's just funny. Like people really feel like people feel this way. Like, listen, if I can have a dog for many years. If my girlfriend is gonna die and I have to sacrifice the dog, I'm gonna have to sacrifice the dog.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But people really,
she had to think about it. That's funny.
People really feel that way about these dogs, man. But I don't know, man. Just let Michael Vick live, man.
Michael Vick, come on, man. That's the Michael Vick experience.
Yeah.
Come on, the man done did his thing. He done paid his dues. Just let the man live.
Let him live, bro. Let him live, man. But
half of y'all not even gonna watch the million viewers that have fought the petition. Y'all not even gonna watch the Pro Bowl. Nobody's watching the Pro Bowl. Nobody has watched the Pro Bowl. So we need to find better things to do than try to bring people down. Nobody watches the Pro Bowl. God. Nobody watched the Pro Bowl.
I don't know. I have not watched that thing in so long. I might have been in high school.
They took it from Hawaii to Orlando, whatever. Come on, man. It's for the kids, and we love the kids, so let them enjoy that. Let them enjoy that. But come on, man, y'all don't even care.
Yeah, man, let them have it, man. But listen, man. On that note, we go ahead and close it out, man. Episode 11 is in the books. Be sure to check us out on YouTube. Search Conscious Approach. All content also lives on the website, consciousapproach.com. You can find myself on Instagram at JVWins. You can find my dog, Dave De Niro G, on Instagram at 305_infinity_and_beyond. So, positive vibes only on this side, right?
Yeah, PVO. Yeah. PVO.apparel on Instagram.
Yeah.
We got exclusive hoodies on the limited edition. Some new stuff coming out. So PVO.apparel on Instagram. You need to follow the movement. And you know what I mean? Like you said.
Some of these people who saw in that position need to buy a hoodie.
Yeah, but it's only for the positive vibes. It's a positive. Well, you can get it though because it's meant to help. So if you have problems, if you have a problem being positive, then we're here to help assist you on how to get positive. So that's what we are, PVO. We're here to help.
If you feel that strongly about signing a petition, you need to buy one of them movies. You got some positivity to work on, for real, especially for something like this.
Come on, so PVO.apparel.
For real.
But yeah, man, positive vibes only.
Yeah.
Once again.
Yeah, once again, man. And on that note, man, we're going ahead and close it out. Keep it logical. Please support logical content. And until next time, we are out.